Awaaz.com.
This is the morning brief from the Economic Times, produced in collaboration with Awaaz.com.
Someone was responsible for planting a bomb outside the Mumbai home of one of world's most prominent industrialists, Mukesh Ambani. The whodunit has opened a Pandora's box where police officers, politicians, businessmen and the underworld have been allegedly named.
Mumbai Police has lodged an FIR after an abandoned vehicle with explosive material was found near the home of Mukesh Ambani. Controversial cop Sachin Vaze, who was once the lead investigator in the case, was arrested late last night.
Former Mumbai Commissioner is accusing Home Minister Anil Deshmukh of extortion.
But was the Pandora's box ever shut? Is it surprising that a nexus like this exists? I asked a former police commissioner, a senior journalist, and a retired IS officer, and this is what they had to say.
I do see many more skeletons tumbling out. There's going to be a washing of the dirty linen in public.
So when the whole society is running around with so much of money, you can't have an island of integrity in the police. Police also got carried away with that.
Corruption is across the board. There's no department which is actually free from it.
I'm Devina Sengupta and you're listening to The Morning Brief. I wanted to know more about the biggest shakeup that Mumbai Police is going through, and I caught up with Meenal Baghel, an editor and author of crime novel Death in Mumbai. In her recent column, Meenal wrote that the freshly transferred Commissioner of Police, Parambir Singh's letter publicly calling out his boss is likely a first in India from a serving officer and sets a terrible precedent. Like the Russian matryoshkas, politics and police force operate on the nesting dolls principle. Mini-me versions corseted with one another. I asked Meenal, is this the biggest loss of faith Mumbai Police has suffered?
Well, there are two aspects to policing, Devina. One is the regular street policing, what you call law and order situation. In that, I think Mumbai is head and shoulder above most other cities in the country. But increasingly in the last few years, what we have seen is in cases which have larger national ramifications, in cases which are connected to politics, in cases where there's big money involved, I think there has been some doubt cast on the role of the Mumbai Police. So Mumbai is India's premier city, and one of the reasons it's so is that we have institutions that still work. And Mumbai Police, being central institution around which the city kind of revolves, has been pretty strong. But there has been a slide in the last few years, and this comes as a latest instance of that.
There's a romanticism around Mumbai Police. We see them in movies across hierarchy. We read about them in books. Some say that the characters are caricatures. But is that the case at all?
During the 90s, after the Bombay bomb blast, is when the underworld the Mumbai Police decided to go sort of after the underworld and eliminate it from the city. That is when these encounter cops were used. And that happens when you think that the traditional modes of the criminal justice system are not sufficient, is when you kind of resort to extrajudicial methods, which is what the Mumbai Police did. And, we created this band of encounter cops who were lionized, who did, through encounters and extrajudicial killings, did rid the city of the underworld. So you have to see that the romanticizing or the lionizing is in that context. But at the same time, we have to remember that these are people who are operating outside the normal bounds of policing and the criminal justice system. And when your sort of raison d'etre, which was the underworld, has gone, you can't say, okay, heal now, come back to the normal bounds of policing. And that is where the fundamental conflict is.
But how damaging are these skeletons? Have we lost both faith and fear in police? D Sivanandhan, former Police Commissioner of Mumbai, and a decorated officer responsible for crushing many gangs in the 90s, chalked out a SWOT analysis of India's police force for me.
I will not subscribe to the theory that the fear of cops is reduced. And what happened is this one stray incident which has reduced the Mumbai police image. And earlier also, there were quite a few setbacks like that. We have gone through a lot of storms and struggles and things like that. But Mumbai police always came out as a winner. So this commissionerate has gone through ups and downs, and all the time ups only, most of the times ups and some of the times down. Like, for example, the blast in 1993, that is 12th March 1993 was a down, and then various other small blasts later after the Babri Math incident. And also 26/11 attack was a very bad incident which happened. And small issues tarnishing the image of individual officers. The last point I would like to mention is that this shall also pass. This is a temporary dark cloud over the sun, and the sun would be ever shining, and this dark cloud has to go. So let us not forget this Mumbai police is one of the greatest forces in the country. Only thing is they deserve good leaders. Good leaders are there, and they have to be emerging out of the dark cloud, and Mumbai police will do well all over again, and the politicos interference will be reduced, obviously, when a tough chap comes on the top of the system.
The kind of pressures that Mumbai police faces, do you think police in, let's say, Delhi or Bangalore or Chennai, Kolkata, do they face the similar challenges?
It is all over the place. Same. Delhi has its own special problem of that 548 MPs and ministers or neighboring state CMs are all hovering about there. In Delhi, anybody and everybody is, do you know who I am? Do you know who is my father?
Right.
You know, that is the kind of culture they have, and a gun culture also they have. And Bangalore and all other places have these problems. You know, every police force today, to put it in a very mild way, that what policing we did and what police 10 years later the youngsters are doing, there is a lot of difference. They are facing tough times, you know. So when the whole society is running around with so much of money, you can't have an island of integrity in the police. Police also got carried away with that. And things are becoming difficult. More of politicization. The dilution of power of the Commissioner of Police and the DGP by the political interference is more and more felt now.
So Sivanandhan may consider these incidents to be a blip, but Arun Bhatia, former IAS officer and ex-municipal commissioner of Pune, told me that corruption is deep-rooted across the service sector.
This is an old system. It's been going on for years. And actually, it's widespread, and they auction police stations. It's a discrete, restricted auction. They don't go in for open biddings. But officers and sub-inspectors and inspectors, they know they approach the right people, the agents of ministers and senior police officials. And that's how police stations are, that's how transfers are made. The distinction between the civil servant and the politician has disappeared in India. It's very sad. Corruption is across the board. There's no department which is actually free from it.
How does one restore confidence? What would make the next generation join a civil service or a police or any of the government posts?
Yes, people will join the police force. We are a feudal society, so we go by status, power, chance of making money through bribery. You get respected in society, shortage of jobs. So there will always be a long queue for government posts. That is not going to change. And how do you restore confidence? Yes, as I said, if you introduce these reforms and the police start functioning as public servants and they become honest, they will earn the respect automatically in society.
In such high corridors of powers, do you see these allegations forming a permanent blotch on the police force?
It will have an impression on the public mind. Because, you know, people know. They don't know the details of how the administration is being run, so you can fool them. But basically, they know what the police is all about, how corrupt it is, how it extorts money and all. They know about that.
As I grapple with Arun's comments, I remembered what Meenal had said when I had asked her about the fallout of this incident, where 80 plus cops were transferred and decorated officers were linked with political clouds.
I think there will be some amount of suspicion on the actions of the police. The kind of the credibility that the Mumbai police force had built over the years, that's certainly taken a hit, because I think that's the biggest damage in my estimate, and I could be wrong, but I do see many more skeletons tumbling out. There's going to be a washing of the dirty linen in public, which is what former CP Parambir Singh's letter did. And there will be a kind of counter strike. So we are going to see a phase where I think there will be questions raised about the Mumbai police, about the proximity of certain political parties with the police force, and none of it bodes well for the city, frankly.
Meenal, but it's not the just case of Mumbai, right? When you are talking to your colleagues in Delhi, or when you are talking to the police force in other cities as well, isn't it the same pressure that they are facing? And I'm calling it pressure as in because, sometimes between the right and the wrong, the grey path, maybe they are forced or maybe it's a voluntary decision to walk the grey path. But isn't the nexus equally strong, or is it stronger in Mumbai?
I think wherever there is a lot of money and there's a lot of power at stake, these things are more pronounced. We are seeing a kind of what we saw in the early 90s in Mumbai, a similar encounter regime taking place in Uttar Pradesh, right? There are many, many encounter killings happening. Now, what would eventually be the fallout of that, we don't know. During the Delhi riots last year, many questions have been raised about the credibility of the Delhi police, that are they serving a certain interest instead of doing, a very impartial investigation. So there are these questions which are being raised, and as I said, what it results in is eroding the credibility of the police force, and basically the public then becomes cynical that the cops are like, so it eventually has a terrible effect on society where you don't sufficiently trust your main law enforcing authority.
But not all is lost, and someone like Sivanandhan, who has risen up the ranks, says course correction steps should be taken by the police forces now.
My first point is insulate the police force by appointing a top cop who is clean, efficient, energetic, and non-corrupt. Clean and non-corrupt are the same. So that way he is insulating the police force from the evil police forces. Now, do not allow the politicians to call all the police stations and the districts and others to interfere and give commands as to how to run the police force. Let us have professionalism as the mainstay of the police department. This is possible today. I'm not asking for utopia. I have done it. I just done it for 35 years. Even now, there are a lot of people who are non-corrupt and straightforward police officers, or many are there, and choose an officer and bring him there. Second, point 2, there is a provision in the government process that at the age of 50, we can take a review and remove the dead wood. This is not being done. It is not. All India Services Manual allows the government to take a review and remove the dead wood. Once you join the police force or IAS or any other service, it should not be a guarantee that you will go on continuing with your corruption and inefficiency until the age of 60 and get another 5 years posting in cat, mat, rat and everywhere. The third is bring all the vacancies, fill up all the vacancies, which is 23%, and reduce the work hours from 12 to 8 hours. And give them decent houses and police stations to workplace, and there. Such a kind of facilities are given to the police force. We can demand and command them not to be corrupt.
As this incident takes a murkier turn every day, one hopes that the points of improvement raised by Sivanandhan are heard out by the police force and the government. Otherwise, with each allegation, the motto of the Indian police services, which is Satyameva Jayate, which means truth alone triumphs, becomes just words. Thank you, Sivanandhan, Arun and Meenal, for untangling for us how the law enforcement agencies are always walking on a tightrope. I'm Devina Sengupta, and you've been listening to The Morning Brief. This episode was edited and coordinated by Nehal Chaliawala and Bhavya Dilip Kumar. I hope you enjoyed listening to the episode. Do send in your feedback to themorningbrief@timesgroup.com and share the episode on your social media networks. The Morning Brief airs every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thank you for listening and have a nice day ahead.
Awaaz.com